Support for Radio Friends comes from La Brunerie Financial, where they work to ensure a lifetime of financial security for people from all walks of life, from investment services to retirement plans. If you're looking for a trustworthy company that has the experience and knowledge to put your interests first, contact La Brunerie Financial, a community-based investment counseling firm since 1966. Learn more at labrunerie.com or by calling 573-449-5313. Good morning and welcome to Radio Friends on Monday, August 21st. This is Eclipse Day, right? This is what we've been waiting for. I want to introduce you, though, right now to my friend Jim Steele. He's here. Actually, I think of Jim as Mr. Howard County.
Well, that's nice. I don't know whether they agree or not.
Oh, come on, Jim. Howard County Historical Book. You're here to talk about that. From Prairie Land to Promised Land is the name of the book.
That's it.
Now, this book has been how many years in the making? About three.
And then all of last year, that would be 2016. That was my life, and it came out, the actual printed version, after all the editing and the processing and the proofreading and all the things you do for a book. It finally came out early this year. And
I'm holding the book up for those of you listening on the radio who cannot see the cover. There are three pictures on the cover. What are they?
Okay, you've got Glasgow right here, and then you've got New Franklin here, and then this is Fayette here.
Yeah, they are beautiful pictures. And on the inside, how many pictures do you have?
About 265, Paul, and roughly 32 of them are in full color.
Yeah, but when you talk over 250 photographs, and many of them go back many years.
Yeah, there are some that go back well into the 1800s.
You say the book has been 3 years in the making. But obviously, this is something that has been thought about more than 3 years.
And Paul, we really, before we run out of time, we always need to give a lot of credit to a fellow by the name of Harold Kerr, who you might kind of say was the publisher. He's the president of the Howard County Genealogical Society, under the auspices of which this book was produced. And he first came up with it, and we contacted Dawning, which is a subsidiary of Walsworth. Everybody's heard of Walsworth up in Marceline, and they're the people that printed it and helped us in the process of actually doing the book.
Yeah,
but then I did the editing, and we have a number of people that submitted and gave articles.
Beautiful coffee table book.
It is a coffee table book.
It'd make a wonderful gift for somebody for their birthday, or here we are. This is August, but you think of Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it a great Christmas present?
I know people that buy Christmas presents now.
Yeah.
About 176 pages.
Okay. Now I want to show some pictures here, and let's describe for our listeners on the radio. If you've been to Fayette, you know that there's a beautiful gazebo in the town
We call
square.
it a bandstand.
The bandstand.
Howard County Memorial Bandstand.
Okay.
If you want to be correct.
The Howard County Memorial Bandstand, but it is just gorgeous. And it's like you're stepping back in time there.
Some people say it's like Norman Rockwell.
It is. Now, in this picture, there's two very young-looking men. One who is standing at the microphone is a young Governor Kit Bond.
He was.
And then
it was a pleasant experience.
And then a guy right over here, a very young Jim Steele.
That was me. I was a master of ceremonies.
Yeah, but the bandstand is how old in Fayette?
It had just been completed about the time that about 2 years. It was about 2 years old then. That was 1973.
Okay.
So it's about 45 years. 45 years old.
Okay, I thought it was a lot older.
Well, it replaced a bandstand that had been there from about 1888 until. During World War II, it had deteriorated and torn down. And a fraternity at Central Methodist University, a music fraternity, Phi Mu Alpha, took the lead to get the new bandstand constructed, kind of a replica, a little bit bigger, but kind of a replica of what had been there back in 1888.
Okay. Now, here's another picture that I want to show you. This one This one down over here. If you have ever seen, and everybody has seen the movie It's a Wonderful Life, it reminds me of the drugstore.
It does, yeah.
Of that George Bailey went into.
He
in
did.
It's a Wonderful Life. But this was a drugstore in Fayette. How many years ago?
This was in 1952. This was a place called, at that time, Alsop and Turner's. Later, it became Alsop and Graham.
And if you are familiar with Fayette today, and you've ever eaten at a restaurant that you know as Emmett's, this is now Emmett's.
That's where Emmett's is today. And this soda fountain you see here that was put in 1936 actually is the superstructure of the bar. They've got different stools and a different top to it, but that is what's still there today.
The bar when you walk in the front door of Emmett's. So this was a drugstore.
It was, and the interesting history about this drugstore was Fayette's first air-conditioned store in 1936. Would you believe that?
That was the first air-conditioned store in 1936?
Yes, in Fayette.
Okay.
And the soda fountain was put in then, too.
Wow.
And that was an extremely hot summer, so they did quite a business.
So they probably had that shingle hanging outside, said cool air-conditioned inside with the icicles. I remember.
I think they did.
Yeah. I'm looking for one. Oh, here. This one right here, if you get a picture of this. There is a swimming pool in Fayette.
Still there, yeah.
If you walk through the park in Fayette, in the summer day, you go by that swimming pool. It's an above-the-ground swimming pool.
It was designed by an architect from Michigan with the name of William Bentz. And there were many of those built around the country, but this is one of the very few that are still around.
Above the ground. And it still is
yeah.
in operation. It's not too far from the observatory.
It's right across it. Yeah, you can stand there and look up and see the observatory. Yeah.
Okay. And when was this built?
1936.
1936, and it's still in operation today. This is really, it's a beautiful book, Jim. You go through this, and I see a lot of pictures. What have we got here? What is this one?
That is the riverfront in Glasgow, probably around the turn of the century. And they did quite a business in tobacco, and all sorts of merchandise that came up was shipped into St. Louis and other
that's
places.
An old riverboat.
Yeah.
Something out of Tom Sawyer.
Yeah, and we don't want. One thing that I learned in this, Paul, is to think in terms not just of Fayette, where I live,
right,
but also for all of Howard County, because this includes Glasgow, New Franklin. We had a wonderful chapter on New Franklin. It includes some of the smaller communities like Armstrong, and some little things about communities that are no longer there, like Steinmetz and Boonesboro. Well, it's still there, sort of.
What was the one you mentioned before that?
Steinmetz, yeah. It was a railroad crossing. But there were places like Lisbon and various others that were out in the country, and as roads improved and people traveled, they just don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Estill's another one. There's a little sign maybe, but that's it.
So how can people get this book if they want it?
Well, there are several ways they can get it. They can. The easiest way, if you're in the area, is simply to come to Fayette, go to the Fayette newspaper office at 203 North Main, or the Fayette Public Library, and you can just buy it right there. It's $24.95. Now, if you want to get it by mail and you don't want to come to Fayette, you can you can go on the website of the Fayette Public Library, and there's an order form there.
Okay, so go to the Fayette Public Library website, and you can order the book there.
Yes, yeah, and there is an additional $5 charge to mail it.
It's called Howard County, Missouri, From Prairie Land to Promised Land. Jim Steele, thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you.
Pleasure
Always good
having
to see
you.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow, Tim Rich, welcome home. Bye-bye.